Near the end of Shameless, there's a scene that lasts less than 30 seconds, and it's easy to miss if you're not looking for it. Lip Gallagher is standing in the house he grew up in, the one that held 6 kids and one unreliable father through 11 seasons of chaos, signing the paperwork to sell it. Not to a sibling, not to anyone who'll keep it in the family. Just gone for a fraction of what a developer once offered years earlier, back before Lip pushed for more money and lost the whole deal. There's no swelling music under that scene, no tearful goodbye montage. It just happens, quietly, the way most real endings happen. Hold on to that image, because we're coming back to it. Because if you'd asked anyone watching the pilot episode which Gallagher would end up in that room signing that paperwork, LIP is the last name anyone would have guessed. From the very first season, Lip is handed a role none of his siblings get offered. Straight A student, off-the-charts test scores, the kind of raw, undeniable intelligence that makes teachers sit up and notice in a neighborhood where nobody expects them to. While Fiona is holding the family together and Ian is fighting his own private war and Carl is doing whatever chaotic thing Carl is doing that week, Lip is the one everyone quietly agrees is different. He's not just surviving the house, he might actually leave it. College, a scholarship, a future that doesn't look like his father's, in a life that isn't confined to Chicago's South Side. That's the promise the show makes about Lip before he's even old enough to shave regularly. And for a while, the show keeps that promise. He gets into college. He leaves the house. Standing outside it with a bag over his shoulder, it looks, for one brief, genuinely hopeful stretch, like the plan is actually going to work. Then you keep watching, and you start noticing something the Golden Boy version of Lip's story conveniently leaves out. Almost every meaningful relationship he builds across 11 seasons, he's the one who lights the match. Not bad luck, not people who wronged him. Him, every time without exception, right as something good starts to take shape. This isn't a side note in his story, it's the actual engine of it. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it inside a single episode. Start with Karen Jackson, because she's the first real entanglement and the one that sets the template for everything after. 2 years of on-again, off-again chaos, the kind of relationship that runs on impulse and proximity rather than anything either of them would call a foundation. Karen is unpredictable in a way that should be a warning sign, and Lip, 16 and smart enough to know better, gets pulled in anyway. It's worth pausing on why. Lip is a kid who is good at almost everything that can be measured: tests, grades, fixing whatever's broken around the house. Karen is the one part of his life he can't solve, can't outthink, can't fix with raw intelligence. There's a version of this that reads as romantic. There's another version, the one this video is arguing for, where it's actually the first sign of a pattern that will define the rest of his adult life. Lip is drawn to instability the same way some people are drawn to a problem they haven't solved yet. It ends the way these things tend to end for him, not with a clean break, but with consequences he didn't fully see coming, and a version of stability he never actually had in the first place. He walks away from Karen technically single, but not exactly free. The template is set. Then there's Mandy Milkovich, and this is the relationship that matters most in the whole argument, because Mandy is different. She's not chaos. She's not a problem Lip can't solve. She's the one person in his orbit who genuinely, uncomplicatedly wants him to succeed, who pushes him toward the future everyone keeps telling him he's destined for, who believes in the college plan more than Lip sometimes seems to believe in it himself. By any reasonable measure, Mandy is the good option, the healthy one, the one a smarter, more self-protective version of Lip would have held onto with both hands. He doesn't. He can't stay faithful to her. His own inability to fully let go of Karen, even after Karen's out of his life in any practical sense, bleeds into the relationship until it collapses. And here's the detail that matters, the one that separates this breakup from the others. It's not that Mandy failed him, or that the timing was wrong, or that outside circumstances got in the way. It's that Lip, specifically, couldn't stop sabotaging the one relationship in his life that was actually built to last. Sit with that for a second, because it's going to come up again. Every relationship after Mandy gets measured against this one, whether the show says so directly or not. This is the one that could have worked. And Lip is the reason it didn't. Which brings us to the part of his story where the stakes should have gotten lower, not higher. College should have been the reset. New city, new people, a fresh shot at becoming whoever he was supposed to become, away from the house, away from Karen, away from the version of himself that kept sabotaging good things. Instead, the pattern doesn't slow down. It just finds better material. There's Amanda, his roommate's girlfriend at first, then something messier and more complicated once she starts spending more time around his room than her own boyfriend's. It's the kind of relationship that looks casual on the surface, low stakes, easy to walk away from. Except it isn't, at least not to her. Amanda falls for him in a way Lip either doesn't notice or doesn't let himself notice. And when she eventually discovers that Lip's also been involved with someone else entirely, she doesn't just walk away quietly. She makes sure the fallout is total. Because at the same time, and this is the detail that turns a messy college relationship into something closer to self-destruction, Lip is sleeping with his professor, Helene Runyon. It's reckless in the most literal, structural sense, an affair with someone who holds direct power over his academic standing, built on exactly the kind of risk-seeking thrill that's defined every relationship before it. Not despite the danger, because of it. When Amanda exposes the affair, it doesn't end quietly the way these things sometimes do. It takes his academics standing down with it. Helene distances herself immediately, the rational move, and also the one that leaves Lip with nothing. He spirals. And the version of his future that was supposed to run through college, the one his whole family was quietly counting on, the one the pilot episode all but promised, quietly, undramatically, stops being an option. Nobody sits Lip down and tells him his future just ended. It just does. Somehow that's worse. Here's what I think is actually happening underneath all of this, and it's worth saying plainly instead of letting the pattern speak for itself. This isn't a guy who can't find the right person. He found her. This is a guy who, every single time something stable starts to form in his life, finds a way to blow it up right when it starts to matter. It's not incompetence. It's not bad luck stacking up across 11 seasons by coincidence. Watch closely, and it starts to look almost deliberate, even though nothing in the show suggests Lip is doing this on purpose. That's what makes it worse, not better. He's not choosing chaos. Chaos keeps choosing him in a shape he never quite learns to recognize until the damage is already done. So, here's the part that should change how you think about where he ends up. It would be easy, maybe even satisfying in a bleak way, to look at this pattern and conclude that Lip Gallagher ends up alone. That the smartest Gallagher becomes the loneliest one. That would be a clean ending. A tidy piece of irony. It's not what happens. By the time the show ends, Lip is not alone. He's with Tami, and they have a son together, Freddie. And whatever else is true about his history, there is something here that looks unmistakably like a family. Not a perfect one. Not the family a college brochure would have promised him at 17, but real, present, his. If the story ended with Lip literally isolated, this would be a simpler, sadder video. It doesn't. And that's exactly why the real ending is worse. Remember that scene from the beginning. Lip in the house, signing the paperwork, no music, no fanfare. This is where it lands. The real ending isn't loneliness. It's this. The smartest Gallagher, the one everyone bet on, the one the whole family quietly assumed would be the one to leave, sells the house he grew up in for a fraction of what it was worth years earlier, back when a developer offered him $250,000, and Lip, ever the gambler, pushed for more and lost the entire deal. He's still in the same neighborhood, still on the poverty line, working a food delivery job to make ends meet, with a partner and a son who deserve better than the version of stability he's currently able to give them. He didn't end up alone. He ended up right back where he started. Every test score, every scholarship offer, every moment the show spent telling us this was the sibling who was going to get out. All of it, quietly, without a single dramatic scene to mark the moment, comes back around to a guy standing in his childhood living room, signing it away for less than it's worth. And maybe that's the more honest tragedy the show is actually telling, buried underneath 11 seasons of louder, more obvious storylines. It was never really about talent or intelligence or even effort. Lip had all three, in more abundance than almost anyone else in that house. It was about whether any of that could actually outrun where you came from. For every other Gallagher, that question stays open in some form by the finale. But for Lip, the one sibling the show spent 11 years insisting was different was going to prove the exception. The answer lands somewhere colder than any of the others. He got out. And somehow, impossibly, quietly, he still ended up staying.